Garrett, I don't understand how I'm supposed to gather ingredients for these grenades without going into the forest.
It's simple. I'll go. I know what to look for. You don't.
But Garrett...
No!
The thief snapped. Guinevere folded her arms with a groan, but she didn't try to argue again. Casting her gaze downwards, she replaced her thick navy mask up over her mouth and nose and went back to work. The various alchemical ingredients sprawled upon the table were all well-known plants that could easily be found within the pagan wood. If said ingredients were destined to be such a core part of her new theft arsenal, the young woman didn't see any harm in wanting to harvest them herself. Her mentor, however, did. Garrett's plan to keep Guinevere out of the forest wasn't just caused by her outburst the night before. There was a deeper, more worrisome reason for it. The growers. Why they had spoken to her at all was troubling enough. As far as he knew, the city factions didn't just go around recruiting followers to their outlandish cults. Outsiders were singled out and attacked on sight, as Garrett could more than attest to. What was the motivation behind this mysterious new group? Garrett didn't know, and he didn't want to know.
Here. You'll need to finish preparing the containers.
The thief instructed, standing behind his seated apprentice. She gave him a silent nod, and continued to shape the clay and loam mixture into egg-sized balls. Using water to make the mixture pliable, Guinevere stuck her thumb and forefinger inside, and gently started hollowing out her creation.
I'm finished. What do I do now?
Nothing. You'll need to let them dry overnight before you can fill and cap them. In the meantime, let's begin work on your spore mixture.
Garrett replaced his own mask before reaching into a nearby canister. Several light purple flowers with dark blue centers and black seeds were inside. Their stems and leaves had been removed, and they looked quite dry. Guinevere recognized them almost instantly.
That's a Bella Viper flower,
she commented.
Yes. The seeds of this particular plant have a variety of uses, some helpful, others far less so. One of the more debilitating effects is unconsciousness.
His voice was muffled by the material concealing his mouth.
I know, my mother...
The mention of Victoria prompted a solid lump to enter Guinevere's throat. She looked away from Garrett, tears in her eyes. The little nymph fought hard to swallow, then looked back up at him and cleared her throat.
Well, she taught me a little bit about herbs and pagan history anyway. I remember her telling me that Bella Viper was used during operations to put people under. Apparently, it's very strong.
Yes, which is why you need to be very careful when using it. To achieve that effect, you'll need to prepare the powder just right. Too little, and it won't work. Too much, and your victim will end out dead.
Garrett explained gruffly. Retrieving a handful of the dried flowers from the metal canister, the thief removed the pea-sized black seeds and poured them into a wooden mortar. Taking up the pestle in his left hand, Garrett began to use it to crunch apart the seeds within. Guinevere watched his demonstration with knowledge-hungry eyes. He glanced up at her, holding the mortar and pestle close to his chest as he worked.
Have you ever used one of these, Guinevere?
She shook her head.
Didn't think so. There are two phases to grinding the seeds into powder: bashing and muddling. Bashing involves hitting the seeds with the pestle to break them down, the way I'm doing.
He continued to press the black seeds until their shells opened and splintered. Garrett then proceeded to apply circular pressure in a clockwise direction with the pestle, rocking the tip slightly against the larger pieces of seed.
What I'm doing now is called muddling. Muddling is the process of grinding the seeds into the powder that you'll be putting into your grenades. Here, I got them started. Now you can muddle them. Since these grenades are to be your defense mechanism, you'll be doing most of the work in creating them.
It's only fair.
Guinevere winked, taking the mortar and pestle from him. She began to move the pestle in concentric circles the way he'd shown her.
Nicely done, Guinevere. Once they're dry, make sure to fill each grenade with 2 parts dried wood moss first. The moss will cause your enemies to choke, flail, and otherwise render them unable to attack you for a few moments before the actual effect of the bell viper spores kick in. Remember, Guinevere, never fill a grenade with any more than 1/3 spores. That's more than enough. You don't want to kill your victims, just take their loot.
He grinned, although his tone was very serious.
You sure know a lot about plants, Garrett. That surprises me.
Oh?
Well, from the way you talk about the growers and the pagans, especially the pagans, I just never saw you as the type.
Yeah. The only plants we city fools know about are the industrial kind.
Garrett gave her a sour smirk.
You really should try to be less judgmental, Guinevere.
You're one to talk.
The young woman laughed.
Down, girl.
He chuckled, impressed by her quip. The room fell into a comforting realm of quiet for a few precious moments before Guinevere looked up from her grinding.
Garrett?
Yeah?
So, how do you know so much about plants anyway?
I may not look the type, but I used to read quite a bit.
Really? I mean, yes, I do remember seeing a few books back in your clock tower, but you never read them when I was around.
What'd you expect? I was too busy keeping you out of mischief and saving your hide.
Very funny.
Very true.
Alright, fine. So, did you grow plants at one time as well?
Garrett's disposition suddenly shifted drastically. His posture tensed and his eyes narrowed.
Why are you asking me this?
Well, I just thought you might have.
Why?
Garrett inquired further. Guinevere blinked. His tone seemed a bit too defensive.
Because of that blue flower petal I found. I was just curious is all.
Both of his hands involuntarily dropped to the sides of his tall form, and his eyes met the floor. Although his mouth formed neither a smile nor a frown, Garrett's expression still conveyed the deep turmoil of emotions he was experiencing at that moment.
Oh, that.
His tone was laced with the sincere discontent and sorrow of a true apology.
No, I didn't grow that.
He mumbled.
Then who did? And why did you have it?
Guinevere asked innocently. The thief looked up from the paneling of the wood floor and instantly locked eyes with her. While his gaze intimidated her, silently warning her not to progress a step further down this dramatic road, Guinevere's curiosity once again got the better of her.
You mean you don't know?
No? Why would I be asking if I already knew the answer?
He sighed at her response.
No. Of course a naive girl like her wouldn't know about such things.
So, why did you have that flower?
Because Guinevere, listen. You don't really want to hear all of that. It's a very long story, and you've got spore grenades to prepare.
He tried to distract her busy mind one last time.
But I thought you said that after the seeds were ground, I would still have to let the clay containers dry before filling them.
Fine, I'll tell you. It's a poppy, all right?
Poppy?
Yes, as in a narcotic.
A dark aura danced around the thief as he remained motionless, feeling his heart throbbing within his chest. He squeezed his eyes shut.
After what happened with Aaron,
Yes?
I already told you that I blame myself for it, regardless of what you or anyone else told me. I know she died because of me. Yes, she was reckless. Yes, she stuck her hand in the fire. Yes, she climbed up there even when I told her not to. But in spite of all that, she was just a kid. She was my charge. I should have been more competent.
Guinevere listened intently to his words.
I don't want to upset you, but if you really want to know, I'll tell you what happened.
I do. I really do.
She nodded.
Fine. Truth is, I hit a rough patch afterward, and I began abusing poppies. I never thought much of it until the after effects began to show. My judgment had never been so impaired. I began taking spoons, bottle caps, and everything else that in my wasted state I saw as valuable. It almost got me killed. Basso and Sophie managed to pull me out of my addiction, but I still kept the plaques and other trash around in my tower to remind me never to go back down that dark road again.
Reaching into the folds of his cloak, Garrett withdrew the memory keeper, the ancient pentagon-shaped relic which he had used during the infiltration of the House of Blossoms.
A month before I met you, I explored Erin's old place. She left this for me. I'm almost embarrassed to admit that I didn't even know what it was until you told me.
He smiled sadly.
Left it for you? But how did you even know where it was?
Guinevere inquired. Garrett released an inaudible sigh. He couldn't tell her that. Even if she was a creature of magic and the supernatural, he had his doubts that Guinevere would believe him. That Erin's spirit had appeared before him in a dream, and told him just where to find the relic.
I just knew.
Was all he decided to answer her with.
You really loved her, didn't you? For her death to tear you up inside that much.
Guinevere stood from her seat, removed her protective mask, and embraced the thief. Garrett didn't answer her. The thief was as stiff as stone in her arms. He felt her soft breath against his palpitating heart, and he looked down at the nymph as Guinevere buried her face within his chest. Now that Erin was gone, she was all he had left. Guinevere was the only piece of innocence that still remained within his ugly world.